sticks are starting to feel really light. I'm watching this 90 Day Fiance, and this lady is like 50 something years old. She's like 55 years old, and she fell for some dude online who says he was some muscle bound dude. First of all, I'm 60. I wouldn't fall for that. Where have you been? Like, do you have a cell phone? Like, I'm sure you got like Facebook. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. She's on Reddit. Come on, man. She got a Reddit account. Come on, man. Like, bro, like, my mom, she just passed away. She was in her 80s. She wouldn't have fallen for that. Like, where have you been? I feel bad for her. Somebody commented, how is anyone that naive still alive? And I feel bad for her, but I'm like, oh, what? Where have you been? Yeah, I'm 60, man. I never, like, my wife, when I first met my wife, like 25 years ago, she didn't believe I was the age I was. Bro, when I was about 30, I looked like I was 19. I just, you know, I'm just fortunate, man. I look young and I take care of myself. So, I mean, I'm 60, but I feel about 35, 36. You know, maybe 35. You know, I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm 60 at all. Like I still have energy, still run around, still running upstairs, still lifting weights. Just I don't feel it, you know. But I don't eat a lot of junk food. I eat pretty healthy. I exercise, but I just don't, man. Yeah, bro, I feel like 35, man. I don't know, man. It just, I mean, people in my family kind of live a long time. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but yeah. Oh, I met Stevie Ray Vaughan in like the 80s, man. I met him in like 87 or 88, something like that. In Red Bank, New Jersey. Yeah, I met him in like the 80s. I was in my 20s, man. I was 22, maybe something like that. However old you are, and let me see. I was like 22, 21, 22. Yeah, like 21, 22. It was like 85 or 86 or something like that. It was in the 80s. He was in a red and white 280ZX. This is when they were still called Nissan was still called Datsun. He was in a red and white T-top 280ZX, and he had a red cowboy boot. He had a red cowboy hat, white pants, red shirt, and red and white snakeskin cowboy boots. Never forget it. Smoking a cigarette with his leg outside, like the T top was off, the door was open, and his leg was hanging out. Like he was just sitting out in the driver's seat with his leg out. He was probably gonna perform, because he was dressed really nice, and but yeah, it was the '80s. It was like 85, 86. It was like 86, 87. I was like 22. Yeah, I was like, hey, bro. I looked at him. I was like, Stevie Ray Vaughan? And I guess me being black, he didn't expect me to know who he was. He's like, yeah, man, what's up? I was like, why are you here? And he was like, yeah, a friend of mine's in Red Bank Music. There was a place called it was a huge two-story like music store called Red Bank Music, and all the parking was in like it was like in a big plaza, and you go around the back, and it had a bunch of parking spots in the back, and because it was right on like the main street, and you couldn't park up front, so you had to drive around to the back unless you parked somewhere else and then you walked up there. But most people went through the back way. Well, it was like 50-50. You know, most of most of the time we most of the time we went through the back. Ooh, pause on that. We went through the back entrance, the rear back entrance rear. Wow, pause. Most of the time we pulled in the back parking lot and went through that way. Um, but yeah, so um, it was that part of Jersey is pretty well. Jersey has pockets of where famous people kind of hang out. The part of Jersey I'm from is where a lot of like people will become famous in New York, or rappers just make a gajillion dollars and they buy a house on the Jersey Shore. Like I lived in a resort town. It was a beach resort town. I lived like a 10 to 15 minute walk to the beach. Like we used to cut school and go to the beach and hang out in the sand or like go swimming or whatever. So yeah, I grew up in a resort town. Well, as far I didn't get an autograph or anything back then, but as far as he's concerned, like I had known about Stevie Ray Vaughan because I was just like a fan of guitar. So, I had he had he put out he had albums he had a band called Double Trouble, and he had like two or three albums out already. I want to say like two or three out. He had like two albums out already. At first it was Double Trouble, then it became Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. But he had a few albums out, and he had played on other people's stuff. So if you were, I was back then. I was heavily into guitar, heavily, heavily into guitar. Um, and I was listening to him. I think shortly after that, I got into guys like Eric Johnson, um, guys like that. Um, I was already into Joe Satriani. His first album, I don't, you cannot find it. It's called Not of This Earth. Um, you cannot find that album. This is before Steve Vai came out. He came out with the Flexible album. A lot of people don't know about that. If you're a guitarist and you're old enough, you know about the Flexible album. You know, and then everybody's like, Steve Vai, this guy's incredible. And he basically was like, if you think I'm good, you should listen to the guy who taught me. And Joe Satriani, he put so much light on Joe Satriani that Joe came out with the album Surfing with the Alien. And that's where everybody was like, Joe Satriani, oh my God. But I've been kind of hip to him since like Not of This Earth, which is a really good album. That came out. So back then, I knew who Stevie was. I didn't know who Steve Vai was, but I knew who Joe Satriani was. Um, like I said, this is like that. This is like the 80s, man. This is like 86, 87, something like that. So yeah, yeah. Eric Johnson, whoo. And I'm gonna say this. Back then, I was heavily into Alan Hallsworth. Heavily into Alan Hallsworth. The first album I heard from him was in 1978. He was playing on this drummer's album, the Tony Williams Lifetime. The album I heard him on was Believe It. That's a classic jazz rock kind of album. Um, Before that album, he had Million Dollar Legs. He had a couple other albums. Um, but in '78, he had he had it was a new Tony Williams Lifetime. The album called Believe It, and I was like, I lost my mind over what Tony Williams was doing on the drums, but I was like, who is that guitarist? He's insane. So then I was at Red Bank Music, and they had Alan Hallsworth's solo stuff. I was like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. So, yeah. The thing about Red Bank Music is they also had bootlegs. This is back before CDs, when you had vinyls. Um, yeah, cassettes and vinyls. And I would only buy stuff on vinyl because it I just liked it better. I couldn't deal with tape hiss. But I remember what guys would do is if there would be a performance at like what used to be called Meadowlands Arena, now it's demolished. Um, they would perform at Meadowlands Arena, or they would perform at the Beacon Theater. I saw Metallica at the Beacon Theater um, on the Kill 'Em All album. Um, and Cliff Burton did this ridiculous like bass solo, and Kirk Hammett did a solo based on the Munsters theme song. His guitar solo was based on the Munsters. Um, I saw a lot of stuff, man. I saw a lot of stuff. I was fortunate to live at a time where it was pretty cheap. It was like $12.50, and you see all these all these bands that are legendary now. Like I saw Michael Jackson. Later on, I saw Michael Jackson during the Jacksons tour, during the Thriller tour, and during the Victory tour. So yeah, I saw, and like I said, the tickets were cheap. They're like 12.50, 12.50 max. You know, um, that was before Ticketron sold out to Live Nation. Once that happened, prices went up. Um, Live Nation, I don't even think it existed any back then. Like you take the $1.50 path train up to Times Square, and from Jersey to New York, it used to cost like a dollar. Jersey to New York cost like $1.50. Take the path train, dollar 50. We get off at no, get off at Penn Station. You know, walk to Times Square, um, and Times Square. There's a big screen right here, and there's like a V. It's like there's a bunch of streets that go all out like that, and there's a V, and there's a street that goes this way and a street that goes that way, and there would be like performers right there at that. It was like what would you call it? It was like it was like a paved median area where dudes would like perform. Um, like they would perform for money, you know what I mean, drawing crowds. But it there'd be one street here and the other street right there. We called it Music Row because there was like Guitar Center and Sam Ash Music and like all of these music stores, and it was like, and like you'd see like there was like no bare. Well, I'm not gonna say no. Generally, people didn't drive down there unless you were like really famous and you were trying to avoid a crowd and the limousine would drop you off there, but like very few people would drive down there. And the reason why is because there was just you could walk across and go from one store. You see dudes from Pearl Jam in the store, or you might see like if Eddie Van Halen is touring and they're playing at the Garden, like you'd see Eddie talking to a tech guy like about amps and stuff like that, or like it was nothing, and you didn't star out like, oh my god, like, because it was kind of tacky. If they saw you, you'd say, hey Eddie, what's up? you know but it was pretty wild, man. I saw a lot of just like famous. I've learned this, man. Like you look at guys, and now this is it's kind of obvious, but dudes are like regular, man. They're just people, bro. They're just people. You know. Um, my friend, as a matter of fact, my friend was the guy who would work for Eddie when the Kramer factory was in New Jersey. It was in Neptune, New Jersey, which is where I used to live. I lived there for a while. A friend of mine who was a guitarist in my band used to be the tech guy that would work with him, and Eddie would like generally Eddie would take his guitars, he would swap out the necks. That's it. He would swap out the neck and the head, and that's it. He always kept the same body. But he gave my friend who was in my band an exact replica of his Frankenstrat. I mean, exact replica. Even the little wire, the quarter that has a hole drilled in it, that like it's the exact replica of the Frankenstrat. That thing's probably worth money now. But yeah, so um, yeah, that's why like I miss that. I miss living in Jersey. Well, I miss that part of living in Jersey. Jersey's not like that anymore. Like the industry is pretty much in LA. Atlanta and LA. Now I live in Atlanta. It's nothing to see famous people down here in Atlanta. As a matter of fact, it's nothing to see. You walk outside, you see a film crew. Somebody's filming a movie at a house. You can like rent your house to be filmed. Like if they like your house, they'll approach you like, "Hey, we'll pay you, to use your house as a." Or first they'll say, "I'm working with such and such, studios and blah 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 blah, and this and that, and we love the look of your house. We will pay you, But we have to look at the inside to kind of like see like if it fits. And if it fits, they'll rent your house. They'll kind of spruce it up in a way that kind of fits the movie scene. And then when they leave, they kind of let you have like whatever stuff, like the pillows or whatever, or you know what I mean. They'll let you have it. They'll let you have that stuff. But but yeah, man, it's where I live right now in Metro Atlanta. It's nothing to see that. It's nothing to see film crews and you know what I mean. That's it's normal, bro. It's like you see famous people. You see them at like Starbucks. Like, hey, Jamie Foxx, what's up? What's up, bro? Like, it's just it's like normal, man. You know, So, but I think for me, because it's music, I got more of a kick out of it. Um, so I don't know. I know what you're talking about. They don't. Yeah, they made a certain amount and they just stopped making them. I know what you're talking about. They, as a matter of fact, I saw a video where they gave one of the replicas to Eddie, and he played it, and he said, "Put my guitar over there." His Frankenstein. They said, "Put it over there." He put it to the side. He said, because these things look so much like my guitar, I want to make sure that that's my guitar. He played it. He was like, it's the exact replica. It plays exactly the same, man. He was like, now give me back my guitar. Yeah, it's on YouTube, man. I remember when they came out with those. I wanted one. Chad, what's up, bro? Famous people that I've met multiple times. Not really. Famous drummers. Like I met Little John Roberts multiple times. Um, at different open jam sessions. I met Usher like more than once. I met. I actually hung out with Ludacris in the studio. But that's a little different. Um, it was, you know, it's a little different. He wasn't rapping. He was just sitting in there, just kind of telling people what to do, and people were making beats and stuff like that. And he's just listening to beats and stuff. So, but multiple times, if I'm going to meet people multiple times, I'd probably become. I would probably befriend them. Um, um, but yeah, because I'd tell him, I'll be like, bro, I see you too many times. What's going on? What are you stalking me? And he would laugh, and we strike up a conversation, and like, so, you know, um, yeah, yeah. I feel like if I met somebody famous multiple times, oh, there's an old band called Arrested Development, and they sued the show Arrested Development, and won because that's the name of their band. They got Grammys. They did Saturday Night Live, did the Grammy Awards, performed there. They're a legendary band. I know the lead guy's speech. I like know him. Like I know him. I know his wife. He knows my wife. I know his kids. Like I know him. Know him. As a matter of fact, he wanted me to join his band at the time. His guitarist, I was playing in his guitarist band. His guitarist him his guitarist has a wife, has a band with his wife, and I was going to join their band. I mean, I joined their band for some gigs, and he wanted me to join Speech's band. So for whatever reason, well, Razadon, the original drummer, ended up coming back to Speech's band, but but yeah, so yeah. Um, yeah, but I know speech. Like I know him. Um, like he gives me advice about like life and music, and like he was the one who kind of I was struggling with balancing like music and life, and the rest of my life, and I was feeling guilty because I was like I love music, but it's just kind of weird. It's hard to explain. But he was just like, man, you shouldn't feel guilty, man. You were made to create music. This is part of who you are. You need to lean into it. You know what I mean? So, or I would just ask him for advice, or stuff like that. So I know him. But I think that's the only guy I really know. Like I can say he's my friend. You know. But yeah. So it is what it is. I just burped and it stunk. Now it stinks up. It stunk up the mic cushion. Yuck. Yeah. Ah. As a matter of fact, this guy in the chat, Chad Garber, he knows speech. He also knows speech. first guitar I had was a it was a it was a ES335. I don't know what brand it was. I got rid of it. It was a red one. I wish I had it. It was a ES335 copy. Then I had a Court Strat copy, and then maybe 3 years ago, I got a blue Epiphone ES335 kind of replica. So, um, the only difference is the red one I had, the first guitar I had was red, had a tremolo system. The blue one I bought not long ago, that's got no tremolo system, which is I hate. Plus, it's hard for me because I'm left-handed, so yeah. My favorite guitarists are Alan Hallsworth. Well, one of my favorite guys, two of them actually, George Benson and John Schofield. Um, but the rest play strats, or at least strat body type, like Steve Vai, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Jeff Beck. Um, who else? Of course, Eddie Van Halen, Alan Hallsworth. Um, I'd say Frank Gambale, but Frank Gambale switched to a hollow body style guitar, like a Gibson style guitar. Um, Jimmy Page plays a Gibson. He played Gibsons. Um, Even like Tony Iommi, he played Gibsons, but it was solid bodies. Um, but most of my guys, even the guys nowadays, the guys from Chan, like Mario Camarena, or Tosin Abasi, you know, they don't. He doesn't play a strat style, but he plays a solid body. Um, so yeah, most of the guys I like play. Well, I'll say this: with rock music, hollow body don't really work, not as much, unless it's a Les Paul. You know, Zach Wild, one of my favorite. I remember he's from Jersey. I remember when he got plucked to play for Ozzy. I remember that. He was a guitar instructor at Jackson Music in Jackson, New Jersey. I remember it. They talked about it was like 102 on the dial, it was a rock station, and they announced it. Ozzy came up to the Ozzy came up to the radio station. I was playing with this band. I can't remember what it's called. Um, But Ozzy was looking for a guitarist, and he came on the radio station drunk, and talking about he's looking for a guitarist to audition. And I'd known about his name was Michael something. I can't remember, but the band that he played in was like Zyrax or something like that, some weird name. They used to play at this place called Club Benet all the time. And when you saw them, you knew Zach was a star. He was that good. Like it was like they were. It wasn't his band, but it was like they were the guys who were like his backing band. Like um, and he was. You knew he was a star. Like you knew he just I can't really. It's hard to explain. Like he played like he was head and shoulders above all those guys. Like it was just ridiculous. Um, but he was a guitar teacher. He was a guitar instructor at Jackson Music, and I used to do a lot of business down there. And I used to stop in at Jackson Music and get back then music stores, a lot of music stores, they sold vinyl and sheet music. And I remember going down there, or they back then the CDs were coming around, or they would sell CDs, cassettes and CDs. And I remember seeing them and saying, "Hey, what's up?" and whatever. But um, I remember Ozzy doing an interview because what was going on is this is back in my weed smoking days. Um, I was hanging out. My friend had a van. I was sitting in the passenger seat listening on the radio. And as a matter of fact, I wasn't even smoking. I had stopped smoking weed back then. But he was, I was listening to it, and my friend was upstairs getting a bag of weed, and he was about to come downstairs. Well, yeah. Matter of fact, I listened to it, and by the time he came back downstairs and got into the van, the interview was over. And then, like a week later, it was all over the radios in Jersey. Like, yeah, Michael so and so from the band Zyrax is the new guitarist for Ozzy. We were like, what? Because we used to practice at this place in Asbury Park called the Hot Dog House. And like a bunch of bands used to practice there, and his band Zyrax used to practice at the same spot. Um, but yeah, man, it was crazy. Now I don't know if you've ever heard of the black rock band Living Color. The lead singer is my cousin. I didn't believe it. We have a mutual cousin, Kim. She goes, Corey's in that band. No, she goes, you ever hear that band Living Color? I was like, yeah, I heard of them. This is when they just come out. I was like, yeah, I heard of them. He goes, she goes, our cousin's in that band. I'm like, who? She goes, Corey. I'm like, yeah, stop playing. The reason why I'm thinking that is because he wasn't. I didn't know him as a singer. He was an actor. He was like, as far as I knew, he was trying to get into acting. But she goes, okay, you don't believe me? And she goes over to my uncle's phone and she calls him up. Now I couldn't just say it to his face. So she's like, Corey, Mark don't believe that you're in that band Living Color. And I hear, let me talk to him. And I get the phone. I'm like, yo, man, we love your band. So he goes, so you didn't believe me, huh? I mean, you didn't believe Kim, huh? I was like, no. Like, I'm like, I was like, bro, I know you as an actor. I don't know you I know you can sing, but I know you as an actor. He's like, yeah, man. So I was like, bro, my whole band loves you guys. He goes, you know what, man? Send me a demo. I was like, for real? I was like, yeah, we got one. It's kind of blah. He was like, I don't care. Send me a demo. And I never sent him a demo. I'm glad I didn't send him the demo, but I didn't send it. Back then, I was like, for years I was kicking myself, but I'm glad I didn't send him a demo. I'm really really glad. Um, I'm really glad. Um, I just wouldn't have. It just wouldn't have been good for me back then. I was living a rock and roll lifestyle, man, hardcore. I wouldn't have made it at all. I wouldn't have made it. So I'm glad I didn't send him the demo. I at the very least, I never would have met my wife. I wouldn't have 4 kids. It would have changed my life completely. So, you know, I'd rather I'd rather have what I have now if there was a chance of me missing out on something else. You know, you know, I'd rather have my family than a career in music, even if it would have panned out that way. I'd rather have what I have now. You know. Yeah, Corey Glover, bro. Corey Glover. And he's not the talented one. His older brother Michael is. His older brother Mike plays like 5 or 6 instruments. He can sing, all that stuff. He's the talented one. Corey was just an actor who could sing, you know. Um, but yeah, man. And the crazy thing about it is, the guy, my boy Dave Bizzagatti, he was a bass player in the first. Well, he was a guitarist at the time that he switched to bass, but he played the he ended up playing with Corey when Corey did his old solo thing. My boy Dave, well, I call him Biz. Biz is like, yo, guess who I'm playing with? I'm like, who? He's like, your cousin. I'm like, no way. He's like, yeah, I'm in his solo band. I was like, oh man. So yeah, that's what was crazy. And then he's like sending me pictures and stuff like that, and I'm seeing like my cousins in the front row. I'm like, yo, that's my cousins. That's so so. I'm seeing my sister. Yo, that's my sister. Like, yeah. So it was pretty wild. You know. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Although I think about this, maybe me and my wife would have met anyway because she was going to intern at CBS Studios in New York, and she was going to intern there and dance with the Alvin Ailey dance group, which is based in like New York. So, you know, who knows? But she had she was up for an internship and she didn't get it. And then like 6 months after that, we met. So I'm thinking if I would have brought the demo, I would still be up in New York, and like she would have ended up being in New York anyway. So inevitably, we would have been meant to be together. So we would have met and meant to be together. So it's just weird, man. That just literally just popped in my head. So, but yeah, she was up for an internship for CBS, the television station, CBS News and CBS Today and all that stuff, and CBS Studios, Rockefeller Plaza, where NBC and ABC and all those. But and she was gonna do that and dance at the Alvin Ailey, dance group, whatever. Um, but yeah, as a matter of fact, we were going to after we talked about it. We were like, look, we're moving to New York. As soon as we got married, we were like, we're moving to New York. So we were just down here saving our money, and then we just said, screw it, man. Let's just have a child. Let's just start having kids now. 2 years after we were married, our oldest was born. You know, but yeah, yeah. Like, had we not had kids, and even then, we were like, okay, they're not in school because they were young, man. Like, when we had by the time we had two, our daughter was still home. She was 3 years old, and so we had a 3 year old and a newborn, and we were like, they're not in school, so we might as well move to New York. And we just didn't. But by then, my oldest daughter started. She started like like the Head Start, whatever you want to call it, like the preschool thing. When she was 4, and when we ended up moving to this house, we'll probably move again. There's a good chance we'll move again. Um, and you know, move to a bigger house because I just need more space. I need more space. The kids need more space. You know, the kids are getting, you know, our family's growing, so you know, our family's growing up. So the boys need their own rooms. You know, the girls need their own rooms. So we'll probably be out of here by, what is it, February, January or February. So it's January, probably April or May. We'll be moving. I'll be in a different place. It'll be nicer. It'll be bigger. I'll be able to set up both of my drum kits. Not all of them, but I'll be able to have two drum sets set up, so it'll be fine. You know. Bro, Ozzy was old, man, and Ozzy drank a lot. Drinking a lot. Oh, wait a minute. I got something in the oven. All right, let me get out of here, man.